So, haba, sa ona. Hasia na nana si ina ga ona wa hena na chi ita si na nana. So I want to introduce myself. Of course, Mitch Walking Elk is one of my names. Brings to mind we had an American Indian Movement meeting here a few years ago, and a lady, one of the founding ladies of the American Indian Movement, Pat Ballinger, as we were going around at the beginning of the meeting introducing ourselves, she said her name in Ojibwe, and then she said, "My jail name is Pat Ballinger." So we all laughed because we understood that. So I'm going to say a few things here, and then I'm going to let the young people and the older person, the mother of the young man sitting there, introduce themselves as well. So I work at a school across the river called Guadalupe Alternative Programs, which ironically was started by a nun. And it's directly across the street from Guadalupe Church. And I've worked there since 1996. I was hired there. I went away for a few years and I came back and they hired me again. About 5 years ago, I was approached and asked if I would want to have to mentor a mentoring program. And I said yes. And so what it evolved into was an Indigenous youth mentoring program to teach Indigenous youth our ceremonies and ceremonial protocol and all things related. And so I created a traditional advisory council, which consisted of 5 people who were ceremonial people, who participated and who lived ceremonial lifeways. We had a ceremony, and that's what launched the program. We didn't have any children, any youth in the program yet. And then eventually I met with the funders, and they asked how many youth I wanted to have. I said 7. And they about fell out of their chairs because funders, they want numbers. They like to have people. We funded 200, program for 200 youth. And I told them, they said, why? I said, because 1, I know my community. And 2, if you really want to have an impact on our youth and have them learn something, listen to what I'm saying. Otherwise, if you want to just skim over this, then go ahead. And so they funded the program. We started with 7 youth the first year, 10. The second year, 12. Now we're up to 15. I still have 10. So by the end of this year, I'm supposed to have 15 youth in the program. And one of the things that I operate from, the basis that I operate from, is the way you learn about ceremonies is be in them. And so we started when we initially, I had 5 youth in the program who all had lost a parent to death. So we had a ceremony for them to get help to heal. And that's how we started. And so we're in our 4.5 years of funding. And we have up to December this year, and then next year, and then after that, I don't know what's going to happen. But along in the 70s, I heard about the Doctrine of Discovery, but I didn't really know what it was. but I knew it wasn't good for us. And because I would get bits and pieces of information. And with the video by Sheldon Wolfchild and Stephen Newcomb, it put things in perspective for me. I took the video, we showed it to the youth, and the previous year, we had talked about going to the International Indian Treaty Council in Hawaii, and I told them, well, that was an idea. We thought about it. I said, raising money for this, I don't think we can do it, you guys. And then I came back at them. We watched the video that Sheldon and Stephen made, and I said, what do you guys think of this? And they said, it makes us angry. And I said, well, I think we should do something about it. And I think where we should do it is we should go to the source. We should go to Rome. And they said, oh, amongst themselves, they said, oh, great, Mitch. We can't raise the money to go to Hawaii, but we can raise the money to go to Rome. And so it took us 17 months from the time that we watched the video and decided to go to Rome, to raise the money. We raised $25,000 and the Veterans for Peace, Dave Logsdon and Barry Reischer were very instrumental in getting that done. And so we went to Rome. We met with, and you might hear this again, we met with Vatican officials. We did not meet in Vatican City. We met someplace else. And two of the people that we met with were priests. Father Augusto Zampini Davies chaired the meeting, and we had a video filmmaker accompanying us by the name of Gwendolyn Cates, who is making a video at this time at this point, it's just called The Doctrine. She accompanied us from here. She lives in New York. She flew here and then flew with us to Rome and stayed with us for the duration of the time, and which was 6 days, I think, 5 or 6, 7 days. And she has a teaser out right now on Vimeo. Is that what it is? Anyway, all of the youth presented to the Vatican officials, and all of the adults. We had, I should mention that we had 14 people. With Gwendolyn was 15, and there was a professor who was a professor of law, who's Shawnee, who flew on his own ticket to Rome. He was there when we got there. We had previously brought him here to the Twin Cities to give a presentation on the Doctrine of Discovery. And so we had 9 youth and 5 adults, 6 adults, including Gwendolyn, 7 and with a professor. All of the youth presented. They presented on the issues of historical and intergenerational trauma, missing and murdered Indigenous women, the environment, oil pipelines, etc. One of the ladies, the mothers of this young man sitting here, she talked about Ojibwe Prophecies. And there was another delegation there from the 6 Nations. I think there were 6 people, a couple of chiefs, 2 or 3 clan mothers, and their spiritual person who accompanied them. And we had a letter from a spiritual man who was also an educator from Pine Ridge, a man who conducts ceremonies. He broke it down for us, and he gave statistics. Pine Ridge has suffered youth suicide epidemic, and he gave statistics. At the end of that, after a survey was given to the parents and the children that he worked with, it was determined that one of the things that the youth drew power from was their cultural, spiritual connections. It wasn't the Catholic Church. or it wasn't any of the other churches. I had a letter from my tribal chairman. I went home and I got a letter of support for what we were doing from our tribal chairman, the Cheyenne and Arapaho Nations of Oklahoma. And I read a report, and I called on the Vatican. I told them that they were responsible for what their predecessors set in motion to some degree, and that they needed to do something about it. And that one of the things that they could do was to use their worldly influence as much as possible to influence these oppressive governments to stop racial discrimination, whatever you want to call it, the continuing genocide of indigenous people. The psychological impact, we might get well, we might have good health physically, or we might not, but the psychological impact of what has happened is still making us sick. So during the other day, I was driving in a car and I was listening to National Public Radio, and I was listening to a priest from Pennsylvania. He was being interviewed by someone, and he was asked about the recent 300 priests with 1,000+ children that have been sexually abused, raped, etc., etc. And he was asked about that, and he said he thought it was not just a church issue, but a societal issue. And we experienced that same type of comments at our meeting. At the Six Nations opened our meeting with the Vatican, and then we were given the floor. And following our presentations, the priest gave a response. And that his part of his response said, "The issues that you are talking about." Last week we had 300 youth here talking about similar issues. We have visited other countries where the issues that you are talking about are the same. We prefer to focus on the present and the future and not the past. That's what they said. And we said, we get that, but you got to understand that the past has impacted us, and our people are still reeling from that. And so that's where we're at with the Vatican. They said that they thought they could learn from us and that they were open to further dialogue. Upon returning home, we were invited to the International Indian Treaty Council, which took place in Bear Butte, South Dakota. And we presented, like we're here now, a resolution was drafted. The resolution was accepted by the International Treaty Council, who works on things on a much higher level than we. And I want to mention that we were the first youth delegation ever to go to the Vatican to deal with these issues. And the resolution that was drafted by the International Treaty Council was the first resolution ever to be drafted on the Doctrine of Discovery to oppose it. And so I'm gonna stop right there. That's where we're at. There's a lot of things that could be said, but I want to turn it over to these young people. And I told this young man here, Kiki, I'll be over to pick you up at 8:30. I thought it would take me that long. I was there at 8 o'clock. And it's the summertime for these guys. So a lot of the other youth, some of the other youth are working. One's actually traveling in Europe right now. One's going to a reservation in South Dakota. And so it's still summertime for them until September 3rd. And so that's why we only have a couple here. And so, but I want to commend them for sitting here and waiting all of this time. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Bonjour. Shkabels Anson Dish and Kaz was how you been and Dodem. Anishinaabe and Indian Dow, also Bikunes the guy Ganing and Donjaba. Hello, my relatives. My name is Achille Day, or my government name is Achille Day. My original name is Little Helper, and I'm from Net Lake, Minnesota, reservation up there. And I'm very happy to be here to speak with you all. I'm kind of new to speaking. I'll try my best though, but sorry. Mitch is my uncle. I've been in his group for a while. I was there when we went to when we journeyed to the International Treaty Council a few years ago, and that was a very good experience. I really appreciate everything that he's done for the youth in my community, and I just want to have a round of applause for my mentor and Uncle Mitch, please. I guess I'll go into some of my background really quick. I'm a native kid from St. Paul. I was born and raised here, and I went to public schools, and as a kid, I always wondered why there weren't a lot of people that looked like me in school or like in the community, and I wondered why our history wasn't taught in the textbooks, and it made me always like really feel down and about like myself and my people, because in the textbooks they don't tell everything that happened to my people. They really try to skim over that as much as possible, and you know that's still really it really hurts us. Like it made me feel like we aren't important, like our stories aren't important, our people aren't important, you know. And that always made me strive to you know, learn more about myself, about my people. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to join my Uncle Mitch's group, and it really helped me learn a lot about my people and my ceremonial ways and all that. And it really helped me gain a lot of confidence in myself and my spiritual connection and my people and our ceremonial ways. And I really thank him for that. And another thing, I was a part of the group that went to Rome, and I just want to have a round of applause for all of our allies and people who helped support us raise money. And so I thank you all for that. And it was a very long journey to get there. It took us a while to raise enough money, but you know, I'm really grateful to be one of the people that have been able to go on that trip to speak to the
Officials.
The officials, yeah. I know not a lot of my people, not a lot of youth in my communities, they don't really get to travel even out of state or, you know, out of the cities, or a lot of our people that live on the res, they don't really make it off the res even. So I'm really grateful that I was able to travel overseas to meet with some officials about the Doctrine of Discovery and seeing what we can do to try our best to get it abolished or revoked. Because the Doctrine of Discovery, when I first learned about it in our group, it really made me upset, you know, that they were able to do all that to our people and our lands with the justification of the Doctrine of Discovery, basically making it their justification, you know, for doing all that to our people. And it really made me mad. And when my Uncle Mitch, when he threw out the idea of going to Rome to talk to them about it, I was like, man, like, we are not making it over there. It was crazy to think that we'd be able to go overseas and talk to the officials and do our best to try to get it revoked. because a lot of our historical trauma stems from that, you know, and a lot of our past ancestors, they went through all of that, you know, and it's still with us today. Like, we still feel that, and I want to try my best to make sure that our grandchildren and our children in the future don't have to feel that. And we're all doing everything we can to try to, you know, get it revoked or abolished, because it'll really help us. And, you know, as a youth, I'm really grateful that I have the opportunities that I have to try to make a change for the future. And, you know, there's this saying that a lot of our youth in the group, we say, we fight for the people who came before us, we who are here now, and the ones who will come after us, come after us. And I think that's really important, because it shows how much of an impact our actions now can, you know, change the future and make it a better place for everyone. And I really think that that's important. And, you know, we all are here today to strive for peace throughout the world, and I think we're all doing the best we can. And I think that, you know, we're here to make a change, and I believe we can do it if we all come together. And so, thank you.
Hello? Oh. Hi, my name is, hi, my English name is DeAndre Whiteface, but my native name is Ikdomi Shah Hokshila, which in my language means Red Spider Boy, and I've been a student member in this group that I'm in, and I am the youngest member, and I was born in North Dakota in Fargo, but I've been raised in South Dakota, Pine Ridge. But me and my mom been in this indigenous group for over a year now. And over this time that I've been in this group, I learned a lot about my culture. My Lakota ways that my culture is one of the dying languages. And I learned that my ancestors tried to keep my language alive, but what I always say now is it's time for us children to stand up and fight back to keep our culture alive. But now I see my culture is standing up now, to where this group I'm in went to Rome to speak to the Vatican head on. But my journey there was strong, because I ain't the only one fighting for my language and culture, so I was nervous, because leaving this land to another was new. But prayers from families helped us going on, but it was not so easy, because of donations and money was needed to head over to Rome. And when we landed on this new land in different cultures was interesting, because everything was different from the United States, but getting dehydrated was normal there, and drinking straight from the fountain could make you sick, because the water has too many pollution and chemicals in the water. So I realized that if we don't do anything to protect our water, then our water will end up like that. But the history about Rome and many buildings there were interesting, and how things work there. But when it came to the day where we had to speak to the Vatican, but when we got there, the Vatican was not there, so we had to speak to priests that know the Vatican. But being this young of age was nervous, but I know to be strong, because I know that my ancestors are right behind my back to watch over me and my family and all humans. Pimama, Palamia. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sheila Whiteface. This is my son, DeAndre, and our mentor. And I don't know. I'm pretty nervous. It was amazing. I do got to tell you, it was amazing. Not only to fly in an airplane, which was really scary. I don't know how everybody does that, but that was really scary. And just to go where the Pope is, you know, just to say, hey, I've been over there where he's at. And everybody's like, well, where's he at? And I'm like, oh my gosh. In this amazing place where we went to see all these monuments and then to have our youth stand up as strong as they were. Every day I seen them getting stronger and standing up, and I watched them all grow up, and now our youth is more confident, and they need to be. And to hear my youngest son, he's the youngest of 7, and I was like, you're only 12 years old. I can't believe you're doing all this. And you know, with our ancestors' help, with Mitch's help, with everybody's help, they were able to accomplish everything that they've done. And just to have the youth stand up for everybody was amazing. My son didn't mention that he's a sun dancer, and so this past summer, just a few weeks ago, he sun danced with his sisters and his uncle, and
He already Sundance 4 years.
he gave his self up for everybody on this planet. Everybody who is surviving and suffering and in pain. And I watched him suffer. And I watched all my daughters fall. And now I know what it's like to just stand there, and then I look at all of you, and I realize that you all had a mother who watched you suffer and to make that choice to go into the forces. And I just want to thank everybody for making your choice for all of us humans. Thank you.
So you realize you realize, Sheila, that talking about flying, being afraid to fly in an airplane, some of these guys jumped out of airplanes. But there was a lady who was here. She couldn't stay. She works right across the street for the St. Paul Indian Public Schools, St. Paul Indian Education. Her name is Diana Johnson. She is the mother of 4 of the youth who have been in the mentoring program. I still have 3 of them in the mentoring program. And I said I would mention her. And she is half Lakota and half Cheyenne. She was adopted by a white couple as an infant, grew up Christian, and she says she had a good life, and She didn't have a lot of the issues, a lot of the problems that many of our people have to endure. But when she came in contact with her cultural, spiritual, ceremonial ways, she embraced it because she's seen what was happening. She also went to Rome, and 3 of her children went to Rome. And at the conclusion of the meeting, and I know it's late, but I also would like to give you an opportunity to ask maybe a few questions. But at the conclusion of our meeting in Rome, the question that we asked them, that was put to them, was, at the conclusion of this meeting, when this is over, are you going to tell these young people that nothing is going to change? So if you have maybe a couple of questions for any of us, would be good.
Let's just make a couple because we're running up against lunch. But yes, you have a question.
George Taylor from Spokane, Chapter 35. Thank you so much for sharing your very powerful stories. I was going to, many of the veterans in this room from various chapters went to Standing Rock in North Dakota to support that stand there with both supplies and money and support. And I'm wondering if any of you have an evaluation there, because sometimes the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Many veterans arrived at Standing Rock to support the movement, but eventually the movement failed. And I'm wondering if you could help us understand, evaluate the presence of veterans from peace at Standing Rock.
Well, I think the first thing that I would like to address, we went to Standing Rock too. And some of the youth went on their own, and then we went as a group. And so one of the first things I want to mention, Standing Rock, from the indigenous perspective, was not a failure. We, it was the first time, very possibly in the history of this hemisphere, when this many indigenous nations and others from all over the world came together and said something to the powers that be. And yes, we suffered a setback. From a personal perspective in relation to the veterans, I wasn't in the U.S. military, but when the Six Nations went into a place in New York and took back some land and were an armed camp, I went there and helped them. So I guess if that makes me a veteran, then so whatever. But one of the things that always discouraged me about veterans was every time we have, and there are reasons for it too, many, many reasons for it. So I don't want to be a big negative up here. But from our native perspective, a lot of people, when we have our events, they bring this thing in. And this is what, this means different things to different people. Okay? And I was always discouraged that the veterans, and it still happens wherever we have powwows and stuff, they bring in the flag, and some of them, the Cheyenne, or the Lakota, the Cheyenne, and the Arapaho defeated this government 3 times. Back in the day, of course, but still. And so I thought, man, I wonder when the shit hits the fan, what are the veterans going to do? Standing Rock cleared that up for me a little bit.
We did put that flag there. That was there.
Yeah, I know. Another question? Yes.
We met a while back. I'm Monisha Rios. I'm on the National Board. We came and visited with you before you took your trip, and I remember you telling us about your goals, your hopes, and I'm so grateful to you. I'm Taino.
So I remember you. Parts of it are cloudy, but I remember you.
And so, for me, what you've done
Ah. Oh, thank you too. So, just to clarify, in her behalf, Columbus didn't land here. He landed off the coast of Florida and Puerto Rico. And so those people were on the front lines of that assault, and they suffered probably the most initially. And so that's where she's coming from. One more.
I want Nellie to be heard here.
Very moved by the entire presentation prior to yours and discussing the Doctrine of Discovery. I'm Tono Akam, and our people were directly impacted by Spanish conquistadors. We fought them to hold on to our territory in battles that are still untold and unknown. Right along the U.S.-Mexico border is where we're from. Along that south side, our people exist. My question is, and I want to preface this, I fully support your going to the Pope to ask to rescind the Doctrine of Discovery. I feel very passionately also about this. My question is, have you ever thought to pray or ask for the removal of power from those people that decided the Doctrine of Discovery, that they may not have so much power, that we reclaim our power as a people?
One of the things that I do, and it's primarily working with these young people, but I also do a lot of ceremonial, spiritual work in the community, is I like to think, to feel, to believe that what I am doing is empowering our people. And that's the best, I figure the best thing that I can do for us right now is to empower our people. And do that by bringing back the culture, the ceremonies, the songs, and so on and so forth. And there's a long thing I could say about that, but I won't. A question that has come to me within the past couple of years has to do with medicine. And my question, and I proposed this to my wife, and she said, no, it can't be. But I think different, and I have asked the spirits in the ceremony, but I haven't got an answer yet. But my question was, do those people, those other people, do they have a medicine that they are using similar to ours that is oppressing us? So you ever walk in a courtroom and you see how it is, and I get the feeling, and sometimes the spirits, they give us things through dreams or through thoughts or visions or whatever, through conversations, through ideas. And right now I'm on a personal quest to determine whether or not, if they have a medicine. And I believe that we are not the only people that was given medicine on this earth. And by medicine, I mean the spiritual things to use to help us. And some people use it the wrong way. And so I have prayed, yes, do they have that? And if they do, how do we break it? I have sat in a ceremony and said those exact words. And so, for the purpose of the health and the well-being of our people. So, with that, I'll close. I want to thank you very much, Dave. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Veterans for Peace, Vietnam Veterans Against the War, all you beautiful, strong-hearted, strong-minded, strong-willed people. Thank you.
Thank you.
And to our young people here.